some of the politicians were talking about taking away their
tax-exempt status.
Their tax-exempt status, and they're not. Was it non-profit? How the hell is the NFL non-profit? Well, they bring in $20 billion a year.
With the commissioner making $40 million a year.
Charitable things.
Charitable?
Yeah, they
Jerry Jones doesn't give that much.
Well, not him, but I'm just saying they do charity things with schools and
But that's every sports league has that. Baseball has that too, but football is a $1 billion business.
Billion? And more than $1 billion?
I'm multi-billion. Are you happy now?
Yes, I am.
But that's the American public supplementing their income. Like, they're not making enough. I mean, this is money that's coming out of all of our pockets. And personally, I think that should have been ended like decades ago.
That's the problem with these commissioners, and even with a guy like Bud Selig, is that it comes down to, as always, the almighty dollar. They're administrators and businessmen. When these social issues come up, they don't handle them properly.
They're clueless.
They don't know how to handle it because,
it's all about money.
Right. I love Bud Selig. Oh, yeah, Those seats behind home plate at Yankee Stadium are going for $2,500. Oh, the public will support that. Still, I don't think they've had a sellout because those seats do not.
They probably have, but it's those are the seats that
you can't pay $1,200 for a baseball game.
Well, some people can.
Well, some
are they going to?
No,
probably not. But that's. But yeah, I mean, you also have to remember the pricing for Yankee Stadium was created when the economy was in a much better place. So they thought, and they're winning World Series after World Series, and they figure, all right, we can charge this. And during the construction and just before the opening, that was when the economy tanked.
Yeah, but you know what? You can't treat your fans like marks, and that's what they've been doing.
Well, look, if you want to bash the Yankees for that, you got to bash the Mets.
I do.
Because at least the Yankees are bringing in the revenue to compensate for that.
Right, and they are spending.
And they're putting a product on the field.
The Mets have sold the bill of goods to their fans, and all they're going to do is rely upon their young talent to bring them through. And that's all well and good. Yeah. But, don't go out predict you're going to win 90 games and you'll have more money this year to go out and get players. That's nothing.
Let's hold on to that, Neil. You're listening to From the Press Box. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me is Tim Leonard. And our special co-host today, the reunion of Neil Macchio with Rob and Tim, because we've known Neil forever. But actually, it's the first time all three of us are in the same room doing something on air. Because music radio is you and me and Ed, and you and Tim were Newsday, right?
We worked at
Newsday. Well, that's what I said at the top.
Newsday
of
and several bars around
I've worked with you guys, separately in different.
Yes, Newsday and several bars around Long Island for me and Monch.
So we'll be back right after this. If you have a if you have a comment, 516-572-7440. Tune in to Thunder Road for
the heart-stopping, band-stropping, hard-rocking, earth-shocking, booty-shaking, love-making, Viagra-taking, history-making, legendary.
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on Thunder Road, Thursdays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 1 p.m. on 90.3 WHPC, and streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Break out the mood rings and slip on the platform shoes. It's the Super 70s, the decade that brought us Elton John, Donnie Marie, and Fonzie are back on WHPC. Join me, Ron Stevens, as we count down the top 20 hits of a featured week and hear lots of bonus hits from that memorable decade. So listen to the Super 70s on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.
The Super 70s, Tuesday at 12 a.m. and Saturday at 7 a.m. on 90.3 WHPC.
This is Glenn DeMilt. Join me every Tuesday and Saturday afternoon at 5 for 2 big hours of music and memories with the chairman of the board. It's Frank Sinatra on Sinatra's Serenade. Each week we'll take you on a musical journey through the career of this entertainment icon. It's all about old Blue Eyes. So listen to Sinatra's Serenade on WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
Streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Welcome back to From the Press Box, 516-572-7440. You have a comment about anything going on in the world of sports. Tim, if they want to follow you on Twitter, what's the account?
We'll be at Real Tim Leonard.
Neil, you have a Twitter or anything like that?
At N Macchio.
I don't have a Twitter because
you don't have Twitter.
I think
he doesn't own a computer.
I don't own a computer either. So
You don't have a computer.
No.
My brother is perennially in the 70s.
No, I'm not. They
Yes,
had computers in the 70s.
You're worse than Tom Coughlin.
He is. He doesn't.
I have a Victrola.
He doesn't.
No, I have
Listen,
an
he doesn't
8-track.
listen to rap music.
I have an 8-track machine. That's very good.
He does.
Oh, that's good. You have the one. Remember the one you used to with the pump on it?
I've been looking for that. That was like the
Well, go for it on eBay.
Dynamite version with Jimmy J.J. Walker.
Well, anyway, I have a question for you. What's with the David Bowie theme music? I'd like.
We
to
just
get an
have
explanation
we just
of
pick music. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, so it changes every week.
Every week we pick a different song.
He handles the music.
You know, you need a
It just
song.
doesn't seem very sports related.
No, it doesn't. But what are we gonna play?
I don't know, center field.
No, Rebel. That's like what is it? Mississippi State.
I was
Who are
thinking
the
that,
Rebels.
but I don't
Running
think they get
Rebels.
us. Are
Isn't
they
it
listening to us
University of
on
Las-
the stream or
Nevada,
something?
Las Vegas. Yeah, Nevada, Las Vegas. We're big there.
Yeah, Nevada, Las Vegas. So you were talking about the Mets, and you brought up a good point about how they're pretending to spend more, saying they're spending,
Right, but they haven't
not.
spent a dime. I mean, and they're lucky, with Bartolo Colon. I think that was probably the best spent money right there.
Yeah,
I don't know that you can say. I don't. Curtis Granderson, I guess, was.
Oh, he was a total bust.
I don't know that he's a total
Sure
bust,
he is.
but he was money that needed to be spent because the Mets needed to have at least the appearance that they were spending money or they were willing to spend
my problem
money.
with the Granderson move was, at the time, they signed Granderson and Chris Young. I'm saying,
Yes.
well, you don't need both of these guys.
No, they didn't. And
And it turns out they didn't.
Chris Young played himself out of New York, or as I like to say, Chris Young in the last 2 weeks.
No, he didn't play himself out of New York. You're wrong.
Well, he played
'Cause
himself
went to the Yankees.
out of City Field.
He played
All right?
himself out of that borough.
But in the last, let's say, two or 3 weeks with the Yankees, Chris Young has probably played himself into a new contract with the Mets.
With
Chris-
the Mets?
With the Mets.
You think he's going back to the Mets? Chris Young.
It's like kind of humor there.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me write that down. Humor, Tim Leonard. No, sorry.
You have no sense of humor whatsoever.
I have plenty of humor. I
Zero.
am the funniest man you know.
Wow, then I need to start getting to know more people.
But I think the Mets looking to next year it's not going to be if everything works out with their pitching, they need some hitting.
Look, they
still.
have a lot of good young talent,
Yeah.
but they still need some veterans to pick up the slack with that. You can't rely on these.
I look at
Some of the young
right now
kids,
with
'cause
what's
they're
happening with the
question
Mets. It's like 1984, and they need a Gary Carter type of guy.
Oh, I thought he was going to start talking about George Orwell.
No, the Mets of 1984, where you started to see what was going on.
There's more
with
humor
pitching.
there. You missed it.
I know. I was laughing. I don't know if you're
Well, but here's the problem, and here's why I think that the Cubs are in a much better position than the Mets are. Is because the Mets, while the Mets, they do have great young pitching. There's no arguing that. All right, they have. I mean, obviously Jacob deGrom is at this point to me the leading contender for the National League Rookie of the Year award.
sure.
I agree.
He's been phenomenal. All right, and you have Zach Wheeler, who has had a good season,
Yep.
should be better next year. Whether Syndergaard is actually going to join the rotation next year, or if he needs another year, or if he gets traded, somebody's going to have to go. But
Yes.
right now in Major League Baseball, there is a shortage of offense, and there's no other way around it. Lots of teams have good.
Well, you know
pitching.
why there's a shortage of offense?
Why is that, Neil?
Enlighten me.
Because they came down on all these steroid guys.
Well,
That's
there you go. There you go.
Are you
That's the
trying
problem.
to say
That's
that
the simple answer.
That's the problem. But the Cubs have an abundance of young positional talent. Mm-hmm. And pitching these days is fairly easy to find.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with
I'm not
that.
I'm not going to say like simple, like you could just go out and snap your fingers and you have a
Look
rotation.
at the Yankees. The Yankees have been trying to get pitching for the last 3 years.
But look at the Yankees.
and
this
they went
year.
out and threw a boatload of money at CC Sabathia, and they still don't have enough
But
pitching.
what's been wrong with the Yankees pitching this year, despite the fact that they lost 4/5 of their rotation at one point? Shane Green has been outstanding. All right, Chase Whitley has
I don't
been
know if
fairly
he's been
good.
outstanding.
No,
I would say he's
for
been
a rookie.
No,
for a-
he's
he's
done
been-
better than expected.
much better. He's
But
had
still
a good
Shane
season.
Green. He's
But that's
he's
the
a
attitude.
stopgap guy. He's a
But that's the
stopgap.
attitude. I don't think he's a stopgap guy. I think he's a young pitcher with a future.
well, but I'm not going to put him in the same class as the Mets young guys like DeGrom and
I'm not
Syndergaard
saying
and
that he is, but I'm saying he is a guy who I could look at as for sure a number 3.
I think you're being generous with him.
Well,
I think he's a back end of the rotation guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not even one of the Yankee starters next year. That wouldn't surprise me.
It depends on what you have come back. I was reading an article last week, and I forget who wrote it, but it was on a website somewhere, so that's probably why I forgot. They were calling for a rotation next year of Green, Whitley, and McCarthy, and not even McCarthy.
Whitley's not going to be in the rotation.
But not even McCarthy, but a bunch of the younger guys
McCarthy
like Phelps.
McCarthy will.
And those
Phelps
guys
might,
but I was like, all right, wait a minute. What about Pineda? What about Nova? I mean, like I wrote it in the comment section. I said, you just gave the Yankees an 8-man rotation next year. Like, what are you thinking? And that was without McCarthy because they were talking about what's it going to take to sign McCarthy because McCarthy's a free agent after the season. Who incidentally I think they should sign because I think he's been outstanding.
They should sign.
He's been outstanding this for them. So to get pitching like Brandon McCarthy is a guy. He's a perfect example. Picked up off the scrap heap. Why the Arizona Diamondbacks wouldn't let him throw a cutter, I have no idea. But the Yankees said, "Hey, go ahead, have at it." And he's been outstanding. There's no other way around it. He's been better than good. So there's outstanding.
No, now I think he's your number 3 guy.
Well, that's possible too.
Because if you're thinking Sabathia, Tanaka,
I'm thinking
Tanaka.
I think Sabathia is probably the number 3 guy.
And now
Sabathia hasn't been good in 2 years.
If Nova and or Pineda come back, Green's not even in that equation. That's
Nova and Pineda are definitely. I mean, Pineda, there's no reason for him not to come back.
I would hope you're not getting back to Green next year because that just says these other guys are done.
Well,
from an
to me, on the Yankees, I think Green is probably a 4 or 5. And I'd like to see him in the rotation next year because I don't see any reason why the Yankees have to go out and spend money on pitching this offseason. I think they have plenty.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure about that.
I mean,
you don't know what Sabathia is going to give you next year.
Well, that's why you keep a guy like Phelps around.
But still, all these guys to me are back end guys. Phelps, Green, Whitley. I don't necessarily consider them major league pitchers on a contending team.
Like the Yankees.
The Yankees have had to fall back on that. Hey,
right.
They've been lucky to get what they've gotten from these guys.
Well, I see that's where I disagree with you because lucky to me is like you get a 1-month sample. These guys have been pitching for 3-4 months now. I mean, we have an established sample here, and pitching has not been the Yankees' problem this year. Offense has been the problem.
Oh, true.
Like a huge problem. I mean, basically, I said this last week. Basically, where if the Yankees give up 4 or more runs, they're going to lose for the most part.
Uh-huh.
So that's not a pitching problem. That's a hitting problem.
Well, I will say this. I'm not as concerned about the starting pitching as I am about the bullpen for next year because, Robertson could take off next year. I believe he's a free agent.
Yeah. But I think if nothing
else... Are you
else...
confident with Betances being your closer and then what you have as your middle relief? I'm not so sure about that.
I would be more confident with Betances as a closer, but then you'd have to fill in because Sean Kelly, I think, has been a disaster.
Right.
I don't think he'll be back.
Not what they've
expected. Then you have to find an 8th inning guy if Betances becomes your closer. I think what the Yankees will do minimum, I think what they'll give Robertson a qualifying offer and just keep him on the table. The qualifying offer is probably what they're saying it's going to be about $15 million. So is that a lot for a closer? Yeah, it is. But on a 1-year deal, let's see Robertson do it again, and then you extend him, give him 4 years or 4 years, $55 million or whatever.
I think sometimes that's where the Yankees' negotiating stance has hurt them because they refuse to negotiate. At the beginning of the season. Yeah. And, we want to see what Robertson's going to do. Well, you know what? You're not going to get a discount later on in the season. And I think that's exactly what he said. You're not going to get a home team discount because now I'm on the free market.
Right. But I don't think. I mean,
and they were lucky they got away with it from Mariano because Mariano used to do that, and he just wanted to be a Yankee so bad that he didn't care about the other teams. So
yeah, but Mariano drove some hard bargains with the Yankees. He didn't really give them a whole lot of discounts either.
He did at the end, but look, the guy is worth every penny.
Yeah.
So it was a different case.
But I think we're in a situation nowadays where even if the Yankees give Robertson a qualifying offer and he signs for $15 million, nobody's giving closers $15 million anymore. So if you give him the qualifying offer to keep him around, then work on another contract. And like I said, give him 3 years, $40 million, 3 years, maybe $45 million, and just keep him happy. And this way, the closer situation is resolved. You keep Betances around for he can be. They have him.
Well, that's what I'd like to see because I'll be honest. I wouldn't. I mean, look, Betances has had a great season, no denying, but he has not been put in that situation of where he's got to close out the game to really get a fair assessment.
I mean, he's only been put in that position a couple of times because Robertson's
really,
been healthy all year.
At the beginning of the season, they did baby him. They were very careful.
Well, they didn't know what they had.
Right.
That's why.
Until
before
he could build his confidence to get where he is now.
But before all of that happened, I mean, he was this guy who had the big fastball, but really had been mostly a failure in the major leagues.
He really had no command of his other pitches, and that was the problem. We knew he could throw 98. We knew he could hit 100, but where was he with the slider and his other pitches?
And that
And
spike
now
curveball.